Is that it? I expected to be traumatized. Ayo guys, damn I am late to this series, but I finally found my way to Made in Abyss. And this will be a really risky release schedule, but in an attempt to release more content, I will release my experience of the anime by parts, Season 1, the movie, and Season 2. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe to see my reactions to the next 2 parts. Could be 1 depending on my thoughts on the movie. And I'll try to make this video as low spoilers as possible, but I will try to make sure to keep it as vague as possible so you have been warned. So let's move on to the anime, and immediately we are thrown into the abyss and we can see that this isn't exactly a happy fun adventure. As if the internet hasn't told us that already, unless you've lived under a rock. And just as quickly as we're introduced to this world, we also are introduced to death and giant flying monsters. However, these are all normal occurrences because the biggest shock to our protagonist Riko is her discovery of a robot with the appearance of a human child. What is this? Is this a mysterious relic that are found in the abyss, and where did it come from? It's the first of many mysteries in the world of Made in Abyss as we ascend to the surface of the world and discover Orth, the home of our main characters. A city that surrounds the abyss. We come to find out that this bottomless pit was discovered nearly 2,000 years ago, filled with treasures and of course humans' desire to capitalize on such rarities. We also learned that the abyss is not just full of treasure, we also saw that there are dangers like the monsters and also dead bodies that we find in the first episode. But those are not the only dangers. Even worse, the abyss is cursed. It's almost as if the abyss wants to lure in and keep delvers in its depths. At least to me, the abyss looks like a giant mouth just waiting to eat everything that comes inside. But as we discover, the curse is not the dangers of delving deep into the abyss, but attempting to return to the surface has deadly side effects. And I'm sure everyone that has some interest in Made in Abyss has heard of its layers and its curses, but let's just go over them really quickly. As we know, if you start to ascend from the first layer, you start to get a little dizzy. The second layer, you start to get nauseous. The third, you feel like everything from the previous layers, but you start to hallucinate and hear voices. The fourth layer causes you to bleed from every hole in your body, and this one is infamous since you've probably seen this clip played online by edgy online gooners. The fifth is confusion and self-inflicting pain. The sixth, you either lose your humanity or your life, and past the sixth layer is unknown, but most believed is certain death. Or so they think. I do believe that they will find a way to return to the surface. As we know, only cave raiders are allowed to explore the depths of the abyss, but there is a system, rank, and rules due to the cruel nature of the abyss. Colored whistles identify your rank here, red being the lowest of them all, and all the way up to the white whistle where you are granted the freedom to explore the vastness of this deadly pit. Cave raiders who have these white whistles are just referred to as white whistles and are regarded as heroes to those in Orth, and I imagine the rest of the planet, because they have contributed so much treasure and knowledge found from the deepest levels below. However, we soon find out that they're not very heroic in nature as we meet Ozen the Immovable, who happens to know our protagonist Riko's mother, and you would expect her to treat her with a lot more kindness than she actually does, and I can only imagine that this is a precursor to all the white whistles we will soon meet. And that there is the draw of Made in Abyss, the mysteries that lie below this pit, combined with our character's motivations and the sudden call to action. Riko is a sort of orphan. She is the daughter of the famous white whistle Liza the Annihilator, and we learn that she has been in the abyss for 10 years. We also get to learn that time runs a little different into the abyss, so maybe it hasn't been 10 years for Liza, so she could still very well be alive. Yet that is also a mystery to us because it is shown to us that something has happened to Liza below, since raiders come to the surface with their research and also white whistle in hand, which is not a good sign. Here in her research there is a note asking for someone to meet her down at the bottom of the abyss. Riko obviously gets special permission to look over her mother's belongings where she finds the message, and she believes that this note is a message to her. This has always been Riko's dream, so she sets off immediately to the bottom of the abyss along with her recently discovered robot companion Reg, or some might say Regu, it depends on which pronunciation you like better. I might just start saying Regu, I kind of prefer it, just look at him, he looks like a Regu. But Regu also adds on to the mystery since there's no data on what he is. And to make things spicier, he himself doesn't know who he is and where he came from. And that is what drives him to explore the abyss and uncover the truth of what or who he is. And while the mysteries alone really help pull us into this story, the dangers is what drags us into this pit of despair that await Riko and Regu. We learn really fast that these kids, as far as we know, Riko is 12 and Regu, while a strong robot looks like a child, are not ready for the trials that the abyss will pull them through. Fortunately though, Regu, while inexperienced experience due to the amnesia is fully capable of traversing through the abyss. He has everything built in to raid this pit: extendable arms, a body that might not feel any pain but does not feel the effects of the abyss like the curses, and a fucking laser. It almost feels at moments that they have it too easy. However, there are limitations to the laser alone, as he can only use a shot and goes into rest mode for 2 hours. And the lower you go, the smarter the beasts get. Rico and Reg have dubbed this laser the Incinerator, and it is the biggest dual-edged sword since Regu is there to protect Rico, who is a defenseless 12-year-old girl. So while they do have a weapon that is capable of taking almost any monster in the abyss, they have to use it sparingly, because if not, Rico is going to be left alone, and if there's a large number of enemies or monsters, she's just going to be eaten. But what I really loved about Made in Abyss was the exploration. It gets this so right. With the world within worlds that are the levels in the abyss, we get new terrains, animals and wildlife, and of course the predators that await their new prey. The abyss is very fantastical in its areas, but the dangers is what makes this a thriller that puts you at the edge of your seat, since we know that our protagonists aren't ready for this nonsensical adventure down a dangerous hole. But you just can't help but be lured in by the abyss and want to see what more lies below. But I know you've been waiting for this, the controversial topics about Made in Abyss. It's an anime that feels almost infamous on the internet because of the violence, the gore, and all the things that they put these kids through. However, I am not here to glorify it, because the one thing I wish was erased from my brain while experiencing Made in Abyss was that all the hype and infamy surrounding the gore and shock value of the series. Because I really think it really disrespects the depth of this world and its characters. I am, of course, part to blame, because I did start the series for that same reason. At moments, I really watched this impatiently because I was just waiting for something really disturbing to happen during the episodes, and I could imagine someone watching this and not really caring for the mysteries, partially disregarding the rest of the show for it. Some of the watchers might just want to watch this for the shock value, but I soon discovered that this is more than just shock value. There's so much more to this show. But early on, there isn't that many disturbing moments early on. I mean, unless you want to credit the first episode with the Crimson Split Jaw, which could have been disturbing enough for some viewers because of its animation style. But specifically, it's when we see Rico picked up by the Corpse Reaper and she almost becomes food for her babies that we realize how dangerous it is down in the abyss. And Regu blames himself in case what happens if I can't save her in the future, and he has a nightmare where he sees Riku like dying, decaying, and exploding. And that's pretty disturbing because yes, it's a child. But what also makes this even more interesting is that this is a flying beast that takes Riku up into the sky, and she also gets the effects of the curse. So she's like throwing up, she's confused, she's lightheaded, so there's no way of really protecting yourself once you're captured. So we get to find out really quickly how fucking bad these beasts are in the abyss, because some of the flying ones can take you up and succumb you to the curse, and as you go lower, the beasts get even smarter. We even get to see a beast that can actually predict your future moves, and you can see what a problem that could be. But honestly speaking, the show is pretty much dandy the first 9 episodes or so. The 10th episode is where you get to the notorious gore of this series, but it doesn't truly feel dark until you reach the end of the first season, where we are introduced to Nanachi, who was experimented on by a white whistle who is continuously experimenting on the effects of the curses on children. That is when it hit me how dark this show was about to get, because for some reason seeing Riku and Regu struggle through the abyss, it didn't really hit me like that, but then we got to Nanachi and Midi's betrayal, and that really did. And that's part of the reason why I felt like the first season didn't feel that traumatic, because I felt almost dull to Riku and Regu's pain. They accepted their fate of entering the abyss, so seeing them go through these struggles just felt like, hey, you knew what the fuck was going on down here, children or not. Versus the children experiments that are there almost against their will because they were betrayed, there is a real fear of not knowing what's going on. What are these, what used to be very trustworthy white whistles doing to them? They are seen as heroes, and here they are just torturing them. And I felt validated here because after we met Ozen, I just thought that there was something fishy about the white whistles, because they are not the heroes that they are praised to be. But yes, the things that these kids go through are terrible, but as far as the first season goes, the gore is actually not that bad. I mean, it's bad, but not that bad. I'm just curious if the internet just really wants to jump on the bandwagon of acting like this was really traumatizing to them. While yes, fucked up, but we have seen similar in other series. Like even in Jujutsu Kaisen we see it, and also Full Metal Alchemist. While yes, it is still disturbing to see kids go through this, we've all seen the clip of Riko just bleeding from every hole in her body and being poisoned to death, but she knew the risks involved traveling deeper into the abyss. And while yes, it's still very traumatizing, I just want to factor this into the series just keeping it really real that how dangerous it is to traverse the abyss. And even after such a traumatizing event, Nanashi confirms that Riko was still planning on moving forward into the depths that await her. Bro, these kids are gangster. I would have given up. However, with Nanashi and Midi, they were just tricked into being test subjects, so these two fates are not the same, so I feel far worse about one than the other. But as I said, thinking of this show as just some trauma spectacle is such a disservice to everything else that the series has going for it. Made in Abyss intrigues you with its mysteries of the abyss, the curse that wants to drown anyone who enters it, the exploration of the mysterious levels of the abyss, and of course the biggest mystery of them all, is Riko's mother really at the bottom of the abyss? And to that extent, is there even a bottom to this pit? I get the feeling that there might not be, and it's all just a sick joke, because I believe that the abyss is alive somehow. Because the mouth of the abyss is just that, it's a mouth and it just wants to eat everything that goes inside. I mean, everything that happens in the abyss just feels like a sick game against humanity. Its curse is intertangled with its force field, a sort of blanket that can, be seen by most likely the inhabitants of the abyss. It's not confirmed, but just my assumptions. Here in this portion of the video, I will talk about the mysteries and my theories. Let's see if I get any of these right, if they are revealed later in the movie or the second season. I do believe that everyone who has been longing to raid this fucking hellhole of a chasm is being manipulated by the abyss. It is almost essentially proven that Earth is being contaminated by the force field that the abyss puts out, which is the cause for the birthday death syndrome. So the question is, why is it killing kids, maybe even adults, on their birthdays? Maybe because they haven't entered the abyss yet? I do believe it's because some citizens and soon turned raiders are enchanted by the abyss. It's just so strange that all these citizens do want to delve deeper into this chasm, even though it's referred to as a suicide mission, because for the most part, you won't return back to the surface. We see this with Uncle Habo, who wants to become a white whistle even though his wife is against it. Riko also has the same desire, and she is, of course, has lived in Earth her whole life. And then we have Midi and Nanashi, who are the outliers here, because I do believe that they were not born in Earth. At least Nanashi wasn't, from what I understood. So it would be hard to say that the abyss's influence reached them, but cave raiders are seen as heroes, I believe, by everyone around the world, and there is riches to be had if you find any relics, so it could be that's the reason why they would accept an invitation to the abyss. And finally, Kiwi, who gets hit with the birthday death flu, who also wanted to become a cave raider, only that he was still a really small child and not of age to enter the abyss. So why would he be hit with the curse if he has the desire to enter the abyss? Is it maybe because his desire to go in with his friends was so high that it leads to a high fever and then death by rejecting the abyss's desire of you wanting to enter it? I feel like I'm cooking something there, but it's just a thought at the moment, at least, because this could just be disproven in the second season or the movie. If we keep the subject of curses and move into the themes, I feel like the curse leads to a false theme of following your dreams no matter what, even if it will kill you. The desire is so strong that you will throw everything away, your home, your family, and your life, to reach new highs, or bottoms in this case, to find the truth that everyone else is trying to find. Of course, there is riches to gain with relics, but we don't even know what uses relics have in the first season. Of course, Regu is a sort of relic, but every relic shown off so far has been like little orbs. Like, what are they? Are they energy? Are they fossil fuels? And then it's starting to make sense, like Earth is America capitalizing on fuel. But jokes aside, did I miss something? I guess the pickaxe is also made of relics, right? So, I just wish with a world so vast, I wish they could explain these small details a lot more. If anyone knows, let me know down in the comments. I am dying to know. It might be in the manga, and I do want to check that out soon. Let's go back to themes, because Riko is the very essence of following your dreams and goals, but also contributes to the idea of being manipulated by the abyss. Since we discovered that she was a stillborn who was birthed within the abyss, she was thought to be dead. As a last desperate attempt, Liza and Owen attempted a ditch effort to ascend to the surface to save Riko. However, the curse would most certainly destroy the baby's body, I believe, so they used a curse-defined cube. But that isn't exactly right from what Ozen said. It's a little confusing. I do think it reflects the curse, but it also has the ability to bring things back to life. So in short, Riko was made in Abyss. So the question is now, is she forever cursed to want to return to the Abyss since she was born in it? And also, is she even in any control of her own life for that matter? The show kind of gets lighthearted at that point and says, no, you know, your desires are your own, Riko. The reason you want to is because you want to be an adventurer just like your mother, but I think there is still some merit to it. And of course, another one is the theme of innocence, since the cast is all children, and what's more innocent than that, right? And I know that the kids in the show is what makes this show so controversial, but once again, I didn't feel like it was that bad here. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know, just don't be such a fucking weirdo about it, I guess. I mean, some things were a little bit out of pocket, but then again, this is anime. However, I did watch this on a nice website that had this available, and it did have comments, and then when I scrolled down and saw what you guys were, I'm not saying you guys, but I saw what some of the people were commenting. And yeah, there's some freaks on that shit. Like, I do see the problem now. I don't think that the show is problematic, I just think that people make it problematic. But yes, Made in Abyss is still very good, better than what they tell you this show is, but if we want to comment on the gore, it's not that bad really, at least to me. What does that say about me actually? But maybe this is just the first season and it's gonna get a lot worse in the movie and second season. So I do want to give the first season a rating, and I give it a strong 8. It does feel a little slow at moments, and weirdly enough, it feels like it starts to sprint to the bottom because we do reach the 4th level, and by the end of the first season, we are ready to enter the 5th layer. But once it picks up at the end with its lore and mysteries that keep on coming, you can't help but want to dive headfirst into this dark pit. But let me know what you guys think. Did I miss anything? Let me know if the manga delves deeper into these smaller details. I kind of peeked at the first chapter and did notice that it started differently, and that the art is pretty good. It's really different. I'm really interested in that. I kind of do plan on watching this first and then reading the manga after, so you know, I'll get there. And also comment your experience when you first watched Made in Abyss. And if you want to hear my experience with the movie and the second season, please don't forget to hit the like button. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to see me reach the floor of the abyss, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching, I appreciate you. I bet there's nothing when they get to the bottom. That'd be kind of funny.